welcome to the Battle Between Podcasts. This is Jeff Skinner, your host. I'm sitting in studio today with my good friend, Mr. Floyd McClendon. He's got an insane story, and we're going to take you all the way from Chicago to the hood, all the way to where he's at right now, living his life at SMU, and in between that whole story there is a lot of stuff to unpack. So, the first question I have for you, man, is how's your day going, brother? You came over here just on time, which is good, right?
Absolutely. Look, my day is going phenomenally well. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely.
That you're giving me. This is the first time in a long time where I was able to sit down and have a public conversation where I'm not beholden to an organization or So I get to I get to go a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
So I don't have to worry about protecting other people's reputation or propriety and things of that nature.
Yeah, that can become a sticky situation, man. So man, I've known you for a long time, and I have always known that you're from Chicago, and anybody who knows anything about Chicago, the first thing they think of is the GOAT, right? Michael Jordan, the White Sox, things like that.
Yeah.
As a kid in Chicago, which is where you were born and raised, kind of paint that picture for us, man.
Well, yes, I did grow up in the Michael Jordan era, of course, in the 80s, like pretty much all the 80s.
Yeah.
I graduated from high school in 91. I started out, southeast side of Chicago, Jamona Millgates, which is a project of Chicago. Believe it or not, I was a small, skinny kid who used to get his ass whooped on a daily basis.
Really?
Like out in the neighborhood. I'd come home dirty, bloody, crying. My sister, she'll look at me. She'd be like, you got into a fight? I'm like, yeah. She's like, did you fight back? And, I'm like, nah, I didn't fight back. She's like, get your ass back out there and finish the fight, So I kind of grew up and during that era where, boys would, kind of tumble and be rough with each other. And 3 hours later, you're best friends.
That's the good old days.
But I mean, it was the projects. It was a pretty gang infested area.
Really.
So my parents, they had the forethought to be like, hey, look, if we want, our kids to grow up and be something, we have to get them out of this environment. So about around mid sixth grade, we moved to Calumet Park, which is a south suburb of Chicago.
Okay.
And then that's where I finished out the rest of, grade school and high school. And it was much better. But still, there's the element of, gangs and nefarious, things of that nature. However, I was deeply rooted in church. So I grew up as a 7-day Adventist.
Okay.
Right. And my parents, they had me in church every Saturday. Right.
Yeah.
If not, and then I was at church on Sunday and Thursday because I was playing basketball for the team.
Nice.
So my mom, she would always talk to me about wearing many hats. She was like, hey, look, you have to know how to wear multiple hats, right? So when you're at church,
wow,
you are ambassador of Christ, right? You're a man of God.
Yeah. When
you're at school, you're a student. Right. When you're in the streets, you have to know how to conduct yourself and carry yourself, to where you're not a prey.
Yeah.
Right. So I literally had one foot in and one foot out in the neighborhood where I had relationships that were good enough to keep me out of trouble.
Yeah.
Right. But not enough to suck me into. And, to suck me into all the nefarious things.
That fine line.
Yes, rode that fine line. And then I also had a foot in church and at home, to where my parents and my siblings, they kind of kept a tight hold to make sure that I was still, going down the right path.
Man, I don't think you might be the first person that ever told me that their family explained to them the importance of, hey, man, you got to do multiple different things in one personality, but your character has to remain the same. You know what I mean? I mean, I think at sixth grade, you're about, what, 12 years old?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the first portion of your life was really spent kind of in the struggle.
Oh, I mean, so really all of it was in the struggle.
So even in the suburbs, it was
like
still.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's not a white picket fence.
Oh, absolutely not.
Okay.
So I mean, our home environment was volatile.
Yeah.
Right. Due to my dad. And what I mean by that is you just never knew what you were going to get, bro, when he was at the
dad?
house. Yeah.
Oh, see, I can relate to that.
Right. You just never knew what you were going to get. My mom, she would have some type of weapon.
Wow, dude.
In each room of the house. Most of the time, it was a butcher knife like under the couch or something of that nature. There were times my mom, she'd be in the kitchen like boiling water, right? Like in the evening, but she's not cooking.
She just wanted to have it ready.
She just wanted to have it ready.
Damn.
Right? So it was those kind of moments where, I grew up from the time I was born, and I would see my parents, have, physical altercations.
Yep.
There was a time where I became like, I grew to a size to where I could kind of step in and intervene, so that whole component was my whole, 17, 18 years.
So was that a function? Was the root cause? Was your dad like an alcoholic?
So my dad was a Marine, right?
Okay.
He did 4 years. He served in Vietnam. And I think that was the cause.
That was the background of it.
But at that time, there was no desire to figure out like, hey, I have a issue. I have a mental block or things of that nature. It was just, but during that time, there really wasn't, there was no public.
There was no positive public.
No public, right. You know what I'm saying?
Man.
And those who served during that time, they were, spit on or disrespected, or they weren't appreciated.
Bro, they got the shit into the stick is what it is.
Right. So this is my assessment over the years of actually of my life, like
just observing,
putting pieces together.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that was a huge factor, him in his 20s and 30s, having to be in a position to raise, kids and the family, and, and I think that really played into the volatile environment.
Yeah.
But at that time, like, I don't give a fuck. Like you don't really care about, like, it's like,
the
look,
issue.
You're hurting people I love. Right? Whether it's emotional, physical, spiritual, like, and from that perspective, I'm like, nah, I don't appreciate this. Like we gotta, it's like, if I'm gonna do whatever I can in order to, to help either relieve that pressure or, completely eradicate it. So
you have to.
So to answer your question, that was kind of the home environment for me. And then also too, like being in the hood, like going to school, and you have these different components of being able to, literally it's like, okay, I step out the door. All right. I need to be molded with the neighborhood, right? I need to conduct myself accordingly when I'm riding public transportation, when I'm dealing with, those in my neighborhood, or I'm going across that line of, because there's gang territory. So in my territory, there's a different gang. I cross the street.
Totally different.
Yeah. We're enemies, right? So just by location, I'm an enemy, and I, have to go through their territory. Yeah. So I have to conduct myself in a certain manner. Then, I get to school, and it's like, okay, I'm a student, right? And then I'll go to church.
Wow.
All right, I'm a ambassador of Christ.
That's like whiplash, dude.
So you're turning that dial, almost seamlessly. Yeah. And that has helped me. That significantly helped me when I became a Navy SEAL, and we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But it's having that ability to wear multiple hats. It's having that ability to effectively communicate in those different environments.
It's insane,
right? It's having the ability to. And I attest this to my mom and my sister, because they used to be, they were on me. They'd be like, look, we don't want you to do anything that's going to hurt your future.
Yeah.
Right. So they're like, look, we can't have you doing something in the protection of us or yourself, and then you having to pay a very high price for it. Right. So they was always
they're looking you out for sure,
bro. They was always in my ear, like, look, we can't have you doing that. Like, you have to, because during that time, bro, I had dudes in the neighborhood. I had guys at church.
Yeah.
And they were like, hey man, just say the word, bro.
Just roll up.
Let's get it done. And I'm like, yeah, let's get it done. And then my mom, my sister, they'd be like, nah, you can't. No, that's not your responsibility. You got to leave that to God. But you need to focus on. You got to focus on this. And I was amazing. Truly blessed to listen. You know what I'm saying? Like one, be open enough to listen, and then two, to really obey like their words of protection.
Yeah. Right.
So I'm trying to protect, and they're trying to protect.
Yeah. Two-way street.
Yeah.
Man, I had no idea that our past were so similar in that aspect, because I grew up in a very volatile home life too, domestic violence, drugs, alcohol, the whole thing, one school to the next every year, 2 years. And I very similar to you. It wasn't until about high school where I was like in one school for 4 years. So, wow, dude, that connects, the deeper connection hits there, because I feel you. Me, on my side, I really never had saying, don't do that. It was just like kind of growing up on our own. Now, mom and dad were always physically there.
Right.
Mentally, they were checked out, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, did you play sports through high school?
So I wasn't allowed to play sports.
What?
At school.
But you were at the church.
But I was playing basketball at church.
Okay.
And so it's an interesting story.
Tell me why. Why were you allowed? Mom didn't want you to get hurt?
No, man. So I'm a 7-day Adventist. So the religion is you're not supposed to do anything from Friday evening to Saturday evening worldly.
Oh, right? Outside of the book, yeah.
Right. So with my dad, it was no TV, no secular music, no extracurricular activities.
Yep.
When it came to things at school. So most of our games were Friday evening, Saturday, right?
Most sports are.
Most sports were.
Yeah.
And leading into high school, basketball was my number one thing. I had this aspiration. I want to go to the NBA. And I believe I had the talent.
Yeah.
And then I had a 6-inch growth spurt between 7th and 9th grade.
Damn.
So I went from 5'7" to 6'1".
Quick.
In 2 summers.
Dang.
Right. 3, so 7th to 8th, I went from 5'7" to 5'10", 8th to 9th, I went from 5'10" to 6'1".
Yeah.
So now I have the height. I'm still a little bitty guy, I'm 6'1", weighing like one,
skinny dude.
Yeah, I'm all feet and head, bro. But I could jump out the gym. I'm quick.
Yeah.
And I knew going into it, my parents were like, hey, you can't play sports because of this. And I was okay with that. What happened was when I tried out for the church basketball team, I was 14.
Okay.
At the time, the age limit was 16.
So you only had a couple seasons anyways.
Right. No. I mean, not the age limit. The minimum age was 16.
Oh. So
I tried out at 14 and I made the team. And as I'm practicing and playing with grown men, and it really helped elevate my game.
Of course.
So they're talking to my dad and like, hey, you have something here. Let him play.
Yeah.
Let him play high school ball. So the season had already started. My dad came to me. He said, hey, I changed my mind. I'm going to let you play basketball.
Nice. Okay.
I went to the coach and I spoke to the junior varsity coach. And he's like, yeah, I used to see you in intramurals. I was wondering why you didn't come out. So I explained it to him. Mm-hmm. He's like, all right, fine, come to practice. So I came to practice that Monday, fared well, went to a game Tuesday, went to practice on Wednesday, did really well. And then the junior varsity coach and the varsity coach, they're talking to me. They're like, hey, we may bring you up to varsity.
Yeah.
We'll have your jerseys for you tomorrow. Your first game is on Friday.
That quick, huh?
That quick.
Yeah.
Right. But we were already in the season. And during that time, I was told that there was a 2-week practice limit before you could play. And here it is. I've only practiced twice.
Yeah, unless you're
and
legit.
they're about to let me play.
Yeah.
I get home Wednesday night. My dad sits me down and he said, hey, I changed my mind.
Oh, no, bro. Damn.
I'm like,
it was done?
I'm like, what, bro? I'm balling. I'm crying. It was just like, and my mom, she's like, well, that's all right, baby. You'll get to play, in college. And man, it broke my heart, bro.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, because you knew you had something too.
It broke my heart. So my dad was like, hey, you want me to talk to your coach? And I said, nah, I got this. That coach didn't speak to me the rest of the time in high school.
Yeah, because he knew he had a player he could win with.
Well, he thought I yanked his chain too.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, he thought that I was, that I was playing games with. My assessment was I think he thought that I was playing games with him.
Yeah.
And looking back as now being a father and have been a husband, looking back, I wouldn't have put that responsibility on my 15-year-old kid.
Yeah.
You know, I would have went in and had a sit down with the coaches and said, hey, look,
I think that's the right thing.
Here's my issue, right?
Yeah.
And I think the coaches would have convinced them, like, hey, look, he's a talent.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and my gym coach wanted me to come out for football. So much so, like during lunchtime, he would have me throwing routes. But then when it came time for me my parents was like, nah, you can't do that.
Like,
so
nope.
So I just played basketball in the church league throughout my high school career.
Well, you obviously got some athleticism to you because at the end of the day, you're training for a 72 miler right now, aren't you?
Yeah, so it's a 75 miler.
75.
But it's a relay race.
But even then, that's 75 miles, bro. I mean, not too many people even drive that far, especially if they live in Rockwell.
It's so much fun.
So what year did you graduate high school?
I graduated high school in 91.
And in 91, you were saying to yourself, what the hell's next?
In 91, I was saying, I need to get the hell up out of here.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? And during that time, it was college.
Where'd you end up going to school?
I ended up going to University of Illinois, Champaign-Urbana.
Okay.
And I wanted to be a computer engineer. Sounded great, right?
Yeah.
When I got there, I realized that the reason why I was there is because I wanted to get away from home, and I didn't want to go into the military. And the reason why I didn't want to go into the military is because, one, my dad was a Marine. I had two brothers who were Army.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was never one to follow in people's footsteps.
Yep.
So with that, I was like, you know what? The military is just out of the question. And then when I got to college, I realized, like, you know what? I'm just here to be away from the environment that I was in. The home environment, the street environment.
Just all of it, huh?
Right? So I did a year, and then I decided, all right, you know what? I'm not ready. I'm going to go into the reserves. And at the time, I was looking at the Air Force. So when I went to the recruiter's office, Air Force wasn't there. I started talking to Navy.
Yeah.
And the rest on that was history. So I went to boot camp that summer of 92, came back in reserves, and I said, okay, now college is on my dime, because my parents were like, look, if you're not serious, we're not helping you. So I was like, okay. Well, now I was like, okay, well, I'm going to pay for my own college. And I went back to the University of Illinois for the second semester.
Using the GI Bill? Did they have that?
Yeah. And then I was like, nah, I'm not ready. So it's time for me to roll out, do active duty.
Really?
Right? So yes.
Within a semester, you were like,
oh, I knew.
It was quick.
Like when I got back, I was like, nah, I'm not ready.
What was the defining moment you think that you were like, no, this ain't it?
Well, because one, I was like, I went through the whole thought process. I'm like, okay, I've gone through this first year and I wasn't focused like I should have been. Now it's completely my responsibility. My parents was like, look, you're on your own. And I was like, okay, so now it's on my own. It's on my own dime. Yeah. And now I'm committing myself, and I still wasn't hitting the mark. What I didn't understand at the time was I was lacking structure. Like I had discipline.
Yeah.
I could, the discipline was there because, my parents, they brought me up.
That foundation was laid.
Yeah. The foundation of discipline and hard work and, character integrity, all that stuff was there because of them, but I just didn't have the structure. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to waste my time or my money anymore. Yep. It's time for me to do something. And I couldn't come back. I couldn't go back home because in 2 years I'm dead or in jail.
Easy.
Yeah. So I was like, okay,
especially with the freedom of being a grown up at that point.
Right. And then my parents too were still trying to control, what I would do, like, what I would do at school.
Oh,
you know, it's
man.
like, you want to do what? You don't want
Yeah.
to be a computer engineer anymore. So it was like, all right, so it's time to go. And I was like, well, the Navy, I could see the world. I can, do this or that. And my only aspiration, bro, was to get away from home, see the world.
Yeah.
Earn a trade that I could use that will catapult me. So when I do get out, I can use that as a foundation while I either complete my education, have them pay for it, and then move to the next level, be an ordinary, citizen, in our country.
Did you have the foresight when you said, I'm going to go enlisted? Did you think this is a career, or were you just kind of like for myself, I knew going in 4 years was what I was going in for. I didn't really have the structure, like you said, to really understand. Even after 13 countries and 2 combat zones, I still didn't have that structure, which the Marine Corps gave me. But did you think you would spend 25 years in the Navy?
Hell no.
No one does, huh? Quint said the same thing.
So here, yeah, I love Quint. So here's the irony. When I went active duty, I went right back to school for 2 years to become an electronic technician, right? Which means
your MOS school.
Yeah, my MOS school, right? So now I'm a radar and a satellite communications expert, and I'm back in school for 2 years.
What? We're both comm dogs? I didn't know that.
Yeah. I kept that shit quiet in the teams.
Yeah.
So because I didn't want to be the comm guy.
Yeah.
But and that's when I realized.
Yeah.
Oh crap! Like, man, I do have what it takes. I just didn't have the structure.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. So I'm in school for 2 years, and then I'm obligated for 4 years. So I'm in, so that's 6 years.
You cannot go. You don't get to say no.
You don't get to say no. Right. So I did that, and then toward the end of my 6 years, so I went to school, and then I went to the USS Kalamazoo, which is an AOR 6. It's a replenishment oiler. It was in Norfolk, Virginia.
Yeah.
I went there for about a year and a half, and then I transferred to the USS John F. Kennedy, which is a conventional aircraft carrier, CV-67. It was down in Mayport, Florida.
Things are like small cities, man.
Yeah. So with both of those, ships, I served 4 years, and it was on the tail end where they're like, hey, you're up for sea duty. So basically you can be stationary for 2 years.
Yeah.
Not going anywhere. And, you can still, and then you can go to school and, get your education. And I was like, oh, okay, all right, I'll do that.
Okay.
Right. So I re-enlisted, and I went to Naval Air Station Patuxent River, Maryland. And that's where, now during this time, I was seeking to play for the all Navy basketball team.
Now, are you in your third enlistment at this point?
I'm in this is like I'm in my first enlistment when it comes to the replenishment oiler and John F. Kennedy.
Yeah.
Right. So in 96, was it 96 or 97? It was 96. No, let me think. It was 97. I tried out for the all Navy basketball team.
Okay.
Ruptured my Achilles literally like the first day.
God just didn't want you to play basketball.
I lasted a week though. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
It was a partial rupture.
Mm-hmm.
So I lasted a week. Coach came in. He's like, "Hey, we got to cut you." I was like, "Yeah, I know." And he's like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, I'm injured." And he's like,
"Yeah."
"Oh, okay." So I went back. So I came back the next year, made the squad.
Okay.
Right. And then because my plan was, I'm going to play all Navy basketball. I'm going to make the All Armed Forces team. Yep. I'm going to get exposure overseas because they play other countries.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I'm going to play for a country, and then I'm going to get exposure to the NBA, and then I'm going to go to the NBA. So by the time I'm 30, I'm in the NBA. That was my plan.
Wow, you had it all mapped out.
I had it mapped out. I did.
Yeah.
And so first year didn't go well. Second year, I did well. And then when that season was over, my coach was the assistant coach for the All Armed Forces basketball team, and it came down to my command to practice. And I'm watching them practice. So him and the coach, they come over and they're like, "Hey, we want you to come out next year.
Yeah.
Because we're going to put you on a team, all armed forces team. And I was like, no, thank you.
Really?
I'm good. And they're like, what? I said, yeah. I said, I'm moving on to do something different. I said, I want to, I said, one, and at the time I was about to get married. I was like, look, I'm about to get married. And then also two, I want to be a Navy SEAL.
Two totally
and they were
commitments. Yeah.
They were like, whoa, like, you seriously? And I was like, yes. I was like, thank you for the opportunity, but
yeah, for sure.
I'm gonna decline. Now, understand the pivot, bro.
That's huge.
Like, all my life.
Mm-hmm. Basketball.
Yes.
Yeah.
And my plan is working.
Mm-hmm.
So and I decide to divert to a profession I don't know nothing about.
Who really does, though, right?
When I joined the Navy, I didn't know what a Navy SEAL was.
Yeah.
So I don't know nothing. So how did I get to that point was I didn't know how to swim.
Yeah, I was going to ask, are you a good swimmer now?
Oh, yes.
Absolutely now.
And
so you try to be a SEAL, you couldn't even swim?
Bro, I didn't know how to. So this is hilarious. So this is how it happened. Falon, who is he at the time he was an ET. I worked with him. He wanted to be a Navy SEAL.
Yeah.
And one of my lifelong goals was to learn how to swim.
Okay.
So I said, hey man, I don't know how to swim. You're trained to be a Navy SEAL. Allow me to do the swim training with you so I can learn how to swim.
Okay.
And he's like, all right, man, cool.
Mm-hmm.
So we get started. And I just started to deep dive into what he was interested in.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm at a juncture now because I'm going to have to re-enlist soon.
Mm-hmm.
Do I re-enlist? Because if I do, I may be considering the Navy now as a career.
Yeah, you have to at that point.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, I need to see what this is all about. And as I started to learn how to swim and do the research. Now, this, bro, this was back in the day where you had to go to bookstores, where you had to go to the library, where you had to there was no computer.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm absorbing all this and buying all the Navy SEAL books, fiction and nonfiction. It didn't matter. I'm just trying to figure out what the profession was about.
It's a sponge.
And I was like, man, this seems like this is something very challenging. Right, mentally,
that's
physically, emotionally,
yeah,
and swimming, and then I started to slowly get adapted to the water, which is a beast in itself. But the fact of the matter is, as I started that path started to change.
Mm-hmm.
The things that I needed to do in order to be successful, to become a candidate, to be a Navy SEAL, all of those things I was not exposed to ever. And all of those things put me on my ass.
Really?
And it forced me to really focus and dedicate my time and energy and just into learning the skill set of swimming, of running long distance,
mm-hmm.
of muscular endurance for calisthenics, all these things that I'd never done before. I'd never ran over 2 miles.
Totally uncharted waters for you.
I'd only did weightlifting.
Yeah.
To get 100 on a PT test for the Navy was nothing, bro. Like I could
yeah.
easily do that, but now I had to dive into something elevate myself. Those components humbled me.
Oh, you have no, yeah. I mean, they should. That's the purpose of them, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was what I needed.
You think that was, man, that's so powerful, man. You need humility. And you have to have that because you can be the biggest, baddest dude on the planet. But if you're out there running around without humility, like who are you really character-wise? You know what I mean?
Man, it put me on my ass. And it was one of the greatest lessons that God put me through.
Put you right there in the middle of it.
Because no doubt, if I had put that focus and energy and dedication to becoming NBA player. There's no doubt to me that I would have made it. But what blocked my ability to tap into that was my talent that I'd had for basketball, right? So I realized, you know what? I wasn't really putting in the energy and effort that I needed to be that premier basketball player that I needed to be.
Opened up your eyes, huh?
Yes, it really did. And I was so blessed for it. And now here it is, I'm in this element of I don't know anything. I don't have the natural skill set for it.
Yeah.
And I need to work my ass off just to meet the minimum requirement.
Just to hit the standard.
Just to hit the standard, bro.
Not to excel.
Not to excel.
Wow.
So that whole process of getting to be able to take the basic underwater demolition seal screening test, right? And pass it barely. And then being afforded enough time to train, be accepted into the program, but be afforded enough time to train. So once I got there, you know, I wasn't as much of a soup sandwich as I was when I
That's a 24-week program, isn't it?
It technically it's a 6-month program.
6 months.
Technically.
What the hell does that mean?
That means if you pass everything.
Oh, if you hit the mark
on your first go round.
What would you say we all have heard the stories of dropout rates and trash like that. You know, I did a little research on it, and you are the exception in the teams that only about 1.5% to 2% are black, first off, right? And then the attrition rate there is what, like 10%, maybe 6%, something like that. That even goes and completes it to be the next phase.
It's across the board. It's 20% make it.
That's insane, dude.
Over the last 60 years.
I mean, you're in a very small percentages of humankind being a black Navy SEAL overall. Yeah. So you're in buds. They're hammering the shit out of you, I'm assuming. What's your one, like, that sucked the worst?
There's a lot of those days,
I know, but you got to pick one.
Okay.
Was it mental or was it physical first?
It's all mental.
Yeah.
You know, like you have to
40%
you have to be mentally capable of physically and emotionally preparing yourself for the rigors of training. Mm-hmm. So it's all mental. Yeah. You know, each candidate has their own desire and dedication to why, you know, they're able to stick through it. Yeah. But one of my lowest moments ever in buds was ringing the bell.
You rang it?
I rang the bell my first time there.
Wow. Okay. So you didn't one shot, one kill that thing.
No. So
take us to that moment. What was the evolution you were a part of that you were like?
It was Hell Week.
I'm done.
It was the second day of Hell Week, but it was the second time I'd started Hell Week. Damn. So the first time I started Hell Week, before Hell Week, I developed cellulitis in my knee, and I developed a gastrointestinal virus, which meant whatever came in came straight out, and it was liquid, right? Yep. So here it is. I'm in my first Hell Week. I'm in my second day, and literally, you know,
that's the quickest way to
literally,
dehydration.
bro. I'm pooping on myself.
Yeah.
Like, and then whenever we ever go to the ocean, I wash myself off. Yeah. Right. And then there was no stopping to say, hey, can I go to the restroom or can I do this or that? Like, I'm literally like shitting on myself multiple times a day during Hell Week because of this virus. So I bring it to the attention of the medical staff, and they pull me from my first Hell Week and roll me to the next class. Okay. So 3 months later, I'm starting Hell Week again, and I went from 195 to 165.
30-pound drop.
My weight. Yeah. So now I'm 30 pounds lighter, and you can see it, man. I'm gaunt. I'm just because I still have this gastrointestinal virus, and it hasn't gone away.
Damn. Like 3 months later.
3 months later, and when I pleaded to the medical officer, who at the time was a Navy SEAL, and during this time, bro, they didn't give a fuck.
No.
You know, they were like, hey, you either nut up or you go away.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying, hey, I have a serious issue. And the medical officer was like, whatever. And I said, just send me to a specialist while I'm waiting the class up. And they're like, no, we're not sending you to a specialist.
Really?
So start back up. I'm 30 pounds lighter. Second day of Hell Week. We're getting in the water. It's a nighttime evolution. And as we're getting in the water, each time we get into the ocean, my body completely locks up.
Just
from the neck down.
Wow.
It's like, boop, I can't move.
Wow.
So my swim buddy, he's pulling me in every time to shore.
Yeah.
And then like once I get out the water, I heat up a little bit, I'm good, I'm able to move. So this happened multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
We're not even remotely halfway through Hell Week.
Oh, yeah.
And so now I'm concerned. I'm like, you know what? I could probably make it through, but I'll probably damage my body so bad that they will drop me from training.
Yeah.
So in that moment, I said, all right, I got to ring the bell. And at that time, I was the class, like I was the LPO for the class.
What's that mean?
Meaning you are the most senior enlisted person.
Damn, so you as the
for
LPO.
For the class, right? You had the OIC, officer in charge,
yeah,
and you had the LPO. Those two guys ran the class.
Okay.
You know, like the OIC was accountability.
Mm-hmm.
The LPO was, you know, there was the voice.
Yeah.
You know, the
command
the
and
voice,
control.
the discipline, the command, you know, to right time, right place, right gear.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Right attitude. And here it is. I'm rolling up and I'm saying, hey, I'm done. So the instructor's looking at me like,
damn,
you got to be kidding me, bro.
Yeah.
Like you? And I was like, yeah. So I rang the bell.
Did you hear that sound in your head for a long time?
No, because
so you just put it right behind you.
At the time, I knew I'll be back.
Yeah. Okay. So you knew that was just a temporary pause.
In my mind, I knew, but I didn't realistically know because there's so many things outside of your control
with the program
to get to. Yes.
Yeah.
Like, but I just knew if I trusted my gut.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, this is the right decision at this moment to make. Sure enough, I quit. They sent me to a specialist. The specialist is like, yep, you have a gastrointestinal virus, and because of the stress of the training, your body wasn't allowed enough time to heal.
Yeah.
So they put me on a protocol. I healed up. But during that time, I'm still at Buds, and I'm waiting for orders. So now I'm seeing my class run by every day. I'm seeing the instructors. They're looking at me like,
chump.
Yes, quitter. You know, like what? And I went to the leadership of the first phase, and I said, hey, please keep me until I heal, so I can get back. And they're like, nah, you got to go to the fleet.
Oh, they're about to ship you out.
Well, yes. So I'm waiting to get orders to go back to the fleet.
Oh shit. Okay.
So I'm like, look, this is my issue. Please help me out. And it's like, no, you got to go. So I went back to the fleet.
Oh, what? Okay.
I went back to the fleet. I went to USS Cleveland, LPD 7. And as soon as I checked in, actually before I checked in, I called and I said, hey, look, this is who I am. I'm coming. And I want to be your combat surface rescue swimmer. And I want to go back to Buzz.
Yeah.
I'll give you 2 years. I'll do whatever you want me to do. I'd be a great sailor. Mm-hmm. So, and I did that. And within 15 months, I'm back at Buds.
And put me at a timeline and a mark in the year. What year is that?
Third trip to Buds. So second. So second. So I got the Buds, I think around March of 2002. If I'm not mistaken, right? I quit November 2002. I'm at USS Cleveland, January 2003.
Okay.
I'm back at Buds by like April 2004.
Okay, so you done went through the shit for a couple of years, and you sacrificed some more of your time understanding that Navy SEAL was where you were going. You've transitioned your whole mind at this point from MBA to putting the focus to being a Navy SEAL. What was your second trip to Buds? Successful completion, and any headaches or hardware malfunctions in your body at that point?
So now I am 2004, I'm 30.
Yeah. Old
Yeah,
man.
I'm 30 years old.
Old man at that point.
I'm an old man.
Yeah.
Right. I noticed the difference immediately, physically.
Better shape?
No, worse shape. Like my body would not bounce back as quickly as when I was there before. Mentally, I was stronger. But physically, my body was like, hey, bro, what
are you doing,
this
man?
is hard. Like, this is really, really hard. Yeah. So I had to tap into the mental aspect more. Like my first time, mentally, for me, it wasn't an issue.
Yeah.
You know, like physically, it wasn't an issue until
your body just broke down.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's knowing yourself. And for some, that's the hardest thing, because you have to ask yourself, all right, I'm at this juncture in my life.
Yeah.
It's for a major decision. And whatever I choose, it's polar, right? It's polar opposite than the other choice.
Yeah. Am
I making the right choice? So you have to really know yourself.
You got to find your why.
Yes. Yeah. Right. And you have to know, like, am I just being lazy today? Mm-hmm. Or is this really an issue? Right. Wow. And leading up to that, what I went through in my childhood, right? Growing up in that environment in the home, the situations I was faced with, you know, growing up in the hood, the relationships that I had, the decisions that, you know, like being able to play basketball, not play basketball.
The volatility of it all.
Right. Yeah. Listening to people who I valued their opinion. Right. So when I went to college, I wanted to play college basketball, and they were like, well, wait your first year, get your grades, and then the second year go out and play. Well, it was completely against what my gut was telling me, but I followed their thought process. Yeah. And I flunked out of college.
Do you go against your gut at any time nowadays?
Right. So no.
Ever.
So now it was like, had I gone with my gut and played ball, it was required that I would hit my grades. I would have hit my grades to play ball, because that's all I wanted to do at the time.
You have no choice.
So that taught me, you know what, go with your gut, no matter what. Right. So now I'm at this juncture, and I'm like, all right, I need to go with my gut. Like, do I ring this bell? You know, because I think I will take myself too far and not become a Navy SEAL, you know, and it was like, okay. So trusting my gut, and then being blessed to come back a second time. Yeah. It built confidence in me.
Even with your body going,
because now it's like, okay, I'm tapping into something here where it's needed in order for you to be successful in life. Like, you have to, you honor the people who you have in your circle. You honor their assessment, right? You honor their perspective. You honor their opinion. However, at the end of the day, the decision you make is your own, and you own it, and you do it based off of how you feel how it will take you to the next level.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, who's more accountable for your actions than me? No one, right? No one.
So when I got back the second time, it was physically just, I suffered, bro.
It was tough, huh?
By Thursday, my body's like, hey, man, I need a rest. You know, Friday, I'm just barely making it through. Weekend come, I recover. I'm good Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then it was just a recurring, you know, rinse and repeat. Yeah. To the point to where there was a couple moments during my second time at Bud's where my mental state was questionable, right? Not that I would quit. Yeah. But it was like, man, this sucks, bro. It was third phase. Now, in third phase, you're on the island. You're on this island like 60 miles off the coast of California.
Yep. I've seen it.
It's bro, you don't get weekends off. It's 7 days on, right? Day and night.
24/7.
No one can hear you scream. The instructors have complete autonomy with you.
Yeah, dude.
Right? Wow. So it's like,
Shit goes down on the island, huh?
Right? Like, yeah. So But every time that you had breakfast, lunch, and dinner, every time you ate, you had to do a child PT.
Oh, so that's real. That's no
you had
bullshit.
to earn it. You had to earn it, right?
Yeah.
So, and there were different evolutions. Like you had to run a quarter mile up a slightly graded hill, or you had to run a quarter mile up a slightly graded hill, and then it just shoots straight up, right to the top. Or you had to do like pull-ups, dips, rope climb,
just to get some chow.
Just to get some chow, right?
Earn it.
But you had on your kit and all that stuff. But each week, you're out there for 5 weeks. But each week it gets harder and harder. So the times get faster and faster.
So for 5 weeks, 24/7, all day, every day.
Yes.
That alone just sounds like a mental.
It's a deployment.
Yeah.
Right. It's a mini
real?
deployment.
Yeah.
But you don't know any different if you're first to the Navy. So, but each week your times to meet gets faster and faster.
As your body is still
right
less and less.
So now I'm like, man, my body is hurting.
Yeah.
Like really, really hurting. So I get rolled, bro, I get literally 2 weeks before graduation, I get rolled because I failed my rifle test.
No.
Yeah, true story. So I get rolled. Why I get rolled is hilarious. At the time I wore glasses. I wouldn't wear my glasses.
Yeah.
So when I'm looking down the iron sights, I'm seeing double because I had astigmatism in my right eye.
Yeah.
Right, and I'm shooting the wrong dot. So
you're shooting my target, bro.
So the instructors are like, bro, you can't shoot worth a lick. Like, what the hell's wrong with you? So I go to the board, and they're like, look, we're gonna roll you. You need to learn how to shoot, right? Yeah. But then they tell me, don't buy a gun, don't go get shooting lessons. We're gonna teach you, right? But we'll come back to that story.
Yeah.
So the second time I come back to the island, I was like, you know what? Fuck it.
Okay.
My body breaks, it breaks.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm gonna meet every standard. I'm gonna hit every run, and I'm not gonna like wallow in my suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I did that, all the pain went away.
Really?
Yeah. And I was making the times, and I was, making the reps, and it was no pressure.
That just lets you know how powerful
the mind is.
The mind is insane. And at that point, you're a totally different mindset. You're just getting after it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
not like it didn't hurt.
Yeah, and granted, bro, by the time I graduated Buzz, like my body was like severely like broke down, like my knees, my back, like just from the day-to-day physical trauma of just getting it done.
Yeah.
Right. And the instructors saw, like, they're like, man, Mac, you hurt. And I'm like, yeah, bro, I can't wait to graduate, because they understand, like you're older and.
Well, and they're putting you through the shit.
Yeah. They put me there and they've been through it. So they know, but still it's like, you still going to do it though, motherfucker. And you're going to do it at a high level. Yeah. Right. And you're going to meet our standards. And if you don't, then we're going to break you off.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, we're going to give you a pass. It was like, no, we get it, but you gotta measure up.
There's a reason why the attrition rate is only 20%. They don't drop their standards for anybody.
No, for no one.
And should they not? And they should not.
No, and they're looking for individuals who, no matter what, bro, find a way.
Yeah.
No matter what, no matter what's in front of you, you figure it out. Mm-hmm. Whether you've been through the proper training or not, you need to figure it out because. Honestly, from experience downrange, you're going to run into moments, situations, right, where it wasn't in training, but based off of your training, you gotta, where's your creativity? Where's your, where's your,
so many different verbs.
Where's your resilience? Where's your ability to think outside the box, in order to get the job done? Because we'll give you the basic tools, but when you're in the shit, where you at?
You got one thing that comes to mind when you had to apply that?
Where you focusing? Oh, absolutely, bro. When, being over in Afghanistan, I was a lead breacher. So lead breacher is you're an explosive expert.
Yeah.
All Navy SEALs know how to work explosives. you get that in basic training.
Yeah, that's the demolition part.
Yeah. But then when you get to the teams, each SEAL will go to specialized schools, right?
Yep.
Because each platoon has specialized positions that need to be filled.
Yeah.
Right. We need 2 snipers. We need 2 lead breachers.
Comm guys, whatever.
Right. Comm guys, those kind of things. So I was a lead breacher, meaning I went to advanced explosives demolition schools and
Dude,
learned.
that was so fun.
And yeah. Oh, bro.
So fucking cool.
And learn advanced tactics that I would bring back to the team, teach some of it to the platoon.
Yeah.
Right.
Just so they're proficient enough.
Just so they're proficient enough to handle like the basic,
yeah.
you know, like the basic problems. But if there's a complex problem on target, then they'd be like, all right, breach her up.
Back up.
Right.
Yeah.
But there was times in Afghanistan where you would come across these structures that you never seen before.
Really?
And you had to defeat them. Right.
That's talking about
you never
it out.
like you and all the charges that you've built in advanced and basic, you know, demolitions training.
Yeah.
You'd never like seen a structure like this before. So now what you have to do is you have to look at this structure, the design of it, the makeup of it, and then you have to use your knowledge and experience on building an explosive or a charge to defeat it.
You want to talk about forget on the job training, man? Like that's figured it out right now, and your life's on the line to do it.
But that's the cloth that Navy SEALs are cut from.
Really?
I did nothing special. All I did was my job, and I did what those before me who got me to that point did. Right? It was understanding that you figure it out.
Yeah.
Right. And so that was. I was like, what? I got to build. And you build these charges. You're like, man, I can't believe this big ass charge I had to build in order to defeat this particular structure. Right. So you're writing history in the moment.
Yeah.
And you're sending AARs back with, yeah, we had to build this charge in order to defeat this particular type of structure. Yeah. And now the teams that are preparing to go over, they're like, okay, all right, we need to put this in training.
Oh, so you're writing the SOP from the frontline fields that's sending back, and now they're integrating it.
Yes.
That's smart.
Because that's what we do. Like we write AARs, and immediately the teams, you know, back home who are training, our training cadre, they're reading these AARs, and they're like, okay, you know what? We need to implement this in training right now so they can be prepared down
so 6 months down the road.
Yes.
Man, is there a spot in your SEAL evolution, like the whole 15 years, is there one spot there where you were deployed, forward, engaged, that something happened that left a part of you there?
Left apart. That's an interesting term. I wouldn't say left apart. My whole mindset when it came to serving our country at that level, right, was I took our training seriously. No matter what it was, I took it for this is real. Mm-hmm. No matter what it was, and I think that helped me when I got downrange. Yeah, because I tried to always put myself in a mindset of this is real. So even during the moments of like when we would do in training where somebody would go down and you had to, you know, patch them up, we would use animals to literally, you know, patch up, you know,
some real life shit.
Yeah, real life shit. Like, you dealing with, and you got to keep them alive until you get them off the X back to the, you know what I'm saying? So this is, and in my mind, I'm telling myself, this is real. This is one of my brothers and one of my sisters, right? Yeah. So it's like, I got to dive in and do, so that helped me stay focused and understand. Now, my first deployment, Iraq, we left in 2 waves to go to Iraq. And I was on the second wave. Before the first wave went out, myself and about 6 SEAL brothers went out You know, like, all right, we're about to deploy.
Yeah, go get a drink.
Let's tie one off, you know, fellas.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did that. A couple of days later, and most of us, we had gone through training together, right? And some of us were in the same platoon or sister platoons. Like, so we were going to see each other in Iraq anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
But at the same time, you know how it is.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, fellas, never know what's going to happen. Let's show some love. Let's tie one off, and then let's go get it done.
Let's go get after it. Yeah.
So a few days later, first wave takes off. So half of our platoon is over there, and they're doing a shakeout patrol. I'm at SEAL Team 1. They're doing a shakeout patrol with SEAL Team 3, right? They're traversing up this hill to get a better view of the target area. My OIC, who I was in buds with,
wow,
great dude, beast, would put me to shame any day. Steps on an IED.
Fuck, hate to hear
Gets
that.
blown, 7,500 feet. So now the dust is clearing, and it reveals that both platoons are in a really bad area of IED embedded.
Yeah.
IED embedded area, right? Now, my dude, who's my OIC, he gets on the mic and he's calling orders.
Just got blown up.
Just got handed the business, right?
Yeah.
So now it turns into a medevac where they got to get him down off the hill and get him out.
Yeah.
So he was one of our first major casualties in Iraq, in the SEAL teams, and he ended up losing both his legs.
Damn. You still talk to him?
Yeah. Still talk to him, and he's doing great things. In his space, it's
a small brotherhood, the Navy SEALs, man.
Yeah. So now half of us, we're not even there yet.
Yeah.
And one of our closest brothers has been.
That probably sets you up to say, shit, this is really taking place. This is really going down.
That set me up to say, get me on the fucking ground.
Yeah.
So we can do business.
Bring the pain.
You know what I'm saying? So it was.
Absolutely.
And the fact that,
that's family.
Like, fuck, I wasn't there.
Yeah.
So that set the tone for the whole deployment.
And how long were you in Iraq at that point?
About 6 months.
Yeah.
No. This was Afghanistan. So
that
this was different.
Afghanistan.
This was different.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So this is another point, 2009, 2010.
Yeah.
So this is my second deployment second combat deployment. So,
man, those fucking IEDs,
bro.
man.
So we get there, and now we're chomping at the bit.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's like, but here's the thing, right? Controlled aggression. Ooh. And here's what we don't talk about in society when it comes to, we don't talk about it enough when it comes to special operations across the board.
Really?
I'm talking Navy SEALs, Green Beret, SEAL Team 6, Delta, combat controllers, para guys. Here's what we don't talk about enough: controlled aggression. Okay. Like the discipline of the controlled aggression that we have in the moments, and the ability to make the right decision during that time, right? We always focus on like the outliers about, certain shit.
Yeah.
But for the most part, the controlled aggression that we have, meaning in those moments where, man, my brother is really, he's fucked up. Yeah. And I want revenge.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But now I got to go out and I got to operate under the confines of the Geneva Convention. I got to operate under the confines of like, hey, here's your rules of engagement.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But yet I have the autonomy to do things different.
Yeah.
Right. But because of my training, right, because of my character and integrity, and because of, right, who you're representing, you know what? We're going to do the job right.
You have to, man. A lot of men died for that trident on your shoulder.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. So we don't talk about that particular component, because every one of us who served in that capacity, we have that, and we've done that countless times.
Yeah, for
where
sure.
it's like, I could pull the trigger on this motherfucker and write it up and be good with it.
Never look
right?
back.
Never look back.
Yeah.
However, right, that doesn't sit well with my brothers. That doesn't sit well with me. It doesn't sit well with the legacy that I have to protect, right?
Yeah,
so it's having
sure.
that. But it's also understanding, once again, knowing when and when not to.
It's always about right time, right place, man. I've been teaching my son that since he was a
Right.
baby, bro.
It's understanding, like, here's the big picture.
Yeah.
Like, okay, here's the situation. Like, can you explain yourself when it comes to
With full integrity.
With full integrity. Hey, this
Yeah.
is why I did what I did at that moment.
Man.
And it's like, okay. And our training is so phenomenal where you get done with an operation, you immediately go in and you do a debrief.
No pause time. It's boom right there.
Debrief. Hey, what happened at this moment in time? Okay. What was your thought process? All right, next. What happened?
Oh, so they're not only asking you about the engagement itself, but they want to know mentally what you were thinking as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because all of that's going to go back to your
Headquarters.
brothers who are preparing, so we can put that in training so that they can be prepared.
Damn,
right?
that's smart, dude. Wow.
But it's real, like, it's literally like real time. You don't get to sleep for a couple of days to, like, you come back and you're like, all right, hey, dumbass, why did you move this way or do that,
Yeah.
do that? Oh, well, I did that because I saw this and, this was going on. Oh, okay, all right, that makes sense. Or it's, yeah, that was a dumbass decision. Don't do that again.
Yeah.
Right. And it's in the moment.
Yeah.
And it's not like you're not trying to, because at that time, you're dealing with warriors.
Oh,
you're
trained.
You have, like, yeah, you're there because you've been tested, and the country, right, the military, your team, your platoon believes in you to do the job. So it's like, all right, bro, you made the right decision, or you know what, you made the wrong decision.
Yeah.
Fucking correct it.
Yep.
And let's not do this again, and move forward.
Yeah.
That's right after. Right.
Man.
And you go through each phase.
That's an insanely good.
Right.
Dude, that is such good practice, because guys like us who are always constantly looking for ways to continue to get better. Now I see why it's so deeply ingrained in you and why you continue to move forward in that aspect, because it's just in you. It's in your DNA.
Yeah.
It's in every fabric of you. I love it.
Yeah.
It's amazing, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you do that day in and day out.
Yeah.
It starts at buds.
From the day one.
Day one, your evolution, your run evolution, right? At the very end of your run evolution, hey, you did this wrong, you did that wrong, and
Damn.
you did it wrong. Okay, here you're going to pay the man, right? And then you go to the next evolution, and then, but your brothers, your future brothers, they're scrutinizing you throughout the process, and then at the end they give you an assessment, and then you go to the next evolution.
Yeah,
that's day one, man. All the way through your whole career, bro.
I mean, that just sets the example of continued betterment of yourself. I mean,
right.
How can you go wrong with that? Right?
The human element sometimes gets us off track, but
without question.
Yeah. But what we don't talk about enough is that our special forces, special warfare brothers and sisters that are out there, the controlled aggression that we have to do the job right is untouchable.
It's insane. It's almost one of my most favorite characteristics of you, because I've seen you in so many different environments, let's call it, right?
Yeah.
Down the road, we'll just say down the road, right? I see how composed you are, and for anybody who sees you walking that walk, man, it's amazing. So don't change that, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You know, I have a few more kind of topics I wanted to talk about.
Let's do it.
It's so intriguing because there's so many different lessons that come from a guy like you that has operated at a high level for many years in many capacities. The one last question I have to you, in simple terms, what is that trident on your left breast? What does it mean to you today?
Man, that's
Or can you even sum it up?
Oh, absolutely, bro. It's I have the responsibility. So let me say this.
Yeah.
So, one, God is he's my everything. He's always been my foundation. No question.
Yeah.
And what he has afforded me to go through and all the accomplishments, one of them being a Navy SEAL. The next entity that I have to give full credit to is my brothers and sisters who invested in me to get me through, to become a Navy SEAL. That family as well. So it's all about, accepting the responsibility of what it means.
Yeah.
Representing God, representing your family, representing your mentors, your advisors, your loved ones, representing the military and the teams.
Yeah.
It's a heavy burden, right? But
yeah, when you think about the big picture.
But so is the trust and time and energy that they put into you.
Yeah.
For you to be successful, right? For you to wear that trident.
Yeah. A lot of people go in on that mission.
Right. And it's also understanding too the brothers who have gone before me.
Yeah.
What they've gone through so that I can sit here and be a part of this elite organization.
Yeah.
So it's all about accountability, really. And it's all about growing each day and bringing light and bringing love, to that particular trident. Right?
Be a warrior with a happy heart.
Absolutely. Because I want you to walk away and be like, man, I met Floyd, who served as a Navy SEAL. Man, that's a good dude, right?
Yeah.
And the testament is to, the people, places, and things that have afforded me the ability to sit here and talk to you.
Yes.
Right. So it's understanding, once again, it's humility. And then also too, it's understanding like your power. Like, how do you use it? You use it for love.
Man,
right?
That's a heavy question. A lot of people use that shit for wrong reasons every day.
Exactly. Right. Do you use it for inspiration? Do you use it to uplift, to support?
Yeah. Then there's the whole flip side of that coin for selfish reasons and honest things and the look at me syndrome that runs around.
Exactly.
Can't stand that shit.
Right. So it's understanding that I need to do that in order to honor this blessing that I've been afforded.
I love that. That's amazing, man.
So that's kind of like with the Navy SEAL piece. Truly, truly blessed. And man, if it wasn't for my brothers, I wouldn't be here.
Man, it sounds to me like it's hard for you to put what a Navy trident that you wear in your heart and on your left breast pocket. Really, you can't categorize that into one word because it had so many impacts in your life. It's hard.
It completely shaped
who you are.
Yes, because I was before I became a Navy SEAL and really understood what it was about. I was full of myself, bro. I was arrogant.
Yeah.
I thought I was something and I wasn't, and that whole process put me on my ass and was like, hey,
humbled you.
Yeah, it's like, hey, you're not that.
Yeah.
But it also fueled me because it's like, okay, I'm not that, but I want to be that. Mm-hmm. And then when I got to training and my instructors started to open my aperture on why.
Yeah.
On the why of like, look, you're here because of this.
Yeah.
Right. You're here because we need pipe hitters to go down range and represent our country.
Yeah.
To do some
shit that most people can't do.
Exactly. Right.
Straight up.
Right.
Line.
Really to face evil.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And face it in the right way, but also like get the job done. Like the why. And it's not because of the symbol of the trident. It's because of that brother that's right next to you.
Your left, your right, and the ones that came before you. 100%.
So it's understanding the why, and you're like, oh shit. So now it's a heavy, and some bro, 80% couldn't carry that weight.
Man, I don't think people understand whatever it may be that's on their shoulders, whether that's the trident or the dad title or the husband or the business owner or whatever it is. They have to understand the why first. and then understand how heavy that pack is, because you may not be carrying it just for you. You might be carrying it for a lot of other people too.
Absolutely. But
Yeah.
that's what gets you through, though.
For sure.
Because if I'm carrying it just for me, it's
You
not
could give up
it's
at
not
any time.
enough. It's
Yeah.
not enough.
Man, that's a good way to put it.
It's not enough, man.
Yeah,
so
dude.
it's like, all right, why am I doing this? I can't say like, oh, I'll do it because I want to, because you asked me earlier about, you know, my academic aspirations, and it's more than just checking a box. It's me putting myself in a position, in a greater position of success, because because you know how society, you know, looks at certain things. So if I sit here and say, I don't need that, like, no, I don't need it. I don't need an MBA, you know, to get to where I need to be.
Yeah.
However, if society looks at that in a positive way, and it'll open a door for me to be in a position to, you know, to give back,
then the effort's
and
worth
I have the ability to do it.
Yeah.
Why don't I do it?
Yeah. Then the effort's worth the
It makes
investment.
perfect sense, because now I'm able to network. I'm able to speak the language.
Yeah.
And I'm able to be in a position to where I can help, or you know, or I can elevate. So if I'm doing it just for me, I won't be able to.
I've never heard it the way you just said it. If I'm doing it just for me, it's not enough. And wow, that's impactful for me.
Bro, we're on this earth to serve.
Yeah.
100%. Period. What's your gift? What's my gift? I need to share it with you.
Yeah.
You need to share it with me. That's at the very core. We're on this earth to serve, bro. That's it.
Man.
So that's what I aspire to do.
I think you're doing a phenomenal job at it, man. I really do. I think, damn, bro, that was heavy for me. Thank you. Yeah, because that just hit me in a different way that I've, you know, I'm of service too in a lot of different ways, and you know that, and anybody who truly knows me knows that. You know what I mean? But doing it just for me is not enough, man. I'm gonna put that shit on a shirt. I mean, it's that powerful. Shit. That's
bro, and my brothers before me have served in such a. Like my man who lost both his legs, he's still serving.
Yeah, because it's in his heart.
And his capacity, he's still, and he's impacting the world, bro.
Wow.
So I owe it to him, right? I owe it to, as you alluded to, So we did the numbers when it comes to Black Navy SEALs. So there's a rough estimate of like maybe 180 total.
Yeah, it's a little less than that. Yeah.
Ever. I'm talking about ever.
Oh, yeah. I saw that.
You know, out of 25 grand, like, you know, Navy SEALs, frogmen.
And this is going back for the listeners.
This is going back to the start. Going back to Navy combat demolition units.
Yeah.
Right. Back to the 40s.
Yep.
Right. So out of 25,000 plus, there's about 180 plus of us. And roughly I fall at number 106.
That's insane.
Right.
Man.
So that means the 105 before me, I owe them.
Yeah.
I owe them.
The 105 after you, because of the core values,
I owe them as well.
Yes. It's not just the past,
right?
It's the future.
Right? Because if you walk away and say, Floyd's an asshole, right? He's a Navy SEAL. You're gonna meet another Black Navy SEAL down the road, and you're gonna have a negative. You're gonna have, and it's just human nature. Yeah. You're like, I remember that bad experience I had with
New Pavers.
Floyd.
Yeah.
Like, and now it's projecting onto this individual. So it's understanding that.
And it's so, I think, you know, I have this conversation with my son all the time, and I've told him since he was young, I'm going to trust you until you give me a reason not to. But remember, the world does not feel the same. Not even fucking close to it, right? Do 100, make a mistake once, they'll never fucking remember the 100 good things. So, you know, paving the way for things, man, is important.
Oh man, it's really, if it's really quiet, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, that's insane, man.
If it's really quiet, you're doing something wrong.
Man, I think, you know, I want to kind of segue into something here with you, because there's so many things that you're working on now that have, you know, in your past have shaped who you are, but you're doing them because the past shaped you, right? You know, you mentioned to me a motorcycle wreck that you had. Can you take me back to like how old were you? When were you? Were you in the service? And you had mentioned to me when we spoke that changed you mentally and physically. What happened with that situation?
It was 2012. It was the day before Memorial Day.
Yeah.
It was a Naval Special Warfare Foundation ride. We were riding up from Coronado, California to Mount Soledad to pay tribute to our fallen soldiers.
Yeah.
And so it was a Sunday morning around 10 o'clock. You know, we hit the road. We hit I-5 going north. And I had to stop for gas. So I stopped for gas, went over the bridge, hit I-5 north. And it was unusually, there was a lot of traffic that morning. So I was like, all right, I'm going to just settle in. And then once traffic clears, boom, I'll catch the pack.
Yeah.
So I settled in with about 3 other bikers. And I was, bike number 3. There was a pickup truck in front of us, and they had these rolled up yellow pieces of foam, big pieces of foam. And that driver didn't have it tied down.
Fucking idiot.
So the wind caught both of them. One went right, one went left. And I remember like it was yesterday. Like everything completely slowed down like in that moment. The bike in front of me, the number 2 bike, when they came off, he kind of flinched his handlebars and it snapped him off. So literally he's in a seated position and he's falling off on his right side. And I'm right behind him and I'm like, oh shit. So his bike started to wobble and it looks like it's about to fall. So I'm going around it on the left side to pass it. And we're going around a curve. And then it rights itself and it starts to ride up towards me.
Oh, shit.
And I'm trying to avoid it. And as I'm trying to avoid it from hitting me, I'm going left as well. And I make contact with the middle concrete barrier.
The K-rail, what they call that, yeah.
And I'm going 70 miles an hour. So I'm like, man, this is going to, like through my brain, I said, this is going to suck. And I just completely relax.
But yeah.
And
just let it go, huh?
So there's a lot of scraping and loud noise. And then all of a sudden it's quiet. And then it's, loud, tumbling, quiet. So that quiet is I'm flying through the air.
I was about to say, that's
then,
you in the air.
Yeah, it's me in the air. Then I'm tumbling. And then me in the air. So I come to a rest. And I'm like, oh, shit, I'm in the middle of the expressway. So I pop up. I go to the emergency lane. I lay back down. I look over my right arm. And my bone is sticking out. It's a compound fracture.
Yeah.
Like right here. And then I look to my left arm, and it's completely shredded. And I was like, oh, shit, I'm not looking at that again.
Yeah. Oh, damn.
So I lay back, and boom, next thing you know, people are on me. So fast forward, 10 surgeries later.
10 surgeries? Damn.
So the first 2 weeks was 5 surgeries.
In 2 weeks, holy shit.
And then I came back a month later. I did 4 more. And then a few months later, I came back and I did my last surgery. So those surgeries were to reconstruct my left arm.
It was that bad? Holy shit.
The day after the accident, the doctors came in and said, hey, your left arm is just going to be an appendage. You're not going to be able to use it ever again.
No kidding.
And I broke down for 30 minutes.
Yeah, everything you thought you wanted to do,
like completely. Yeah, I completely broke down for 30 minutes, and I'm like, I don't see nobody. I mean, I went there. Right,
yeah.
That was a very low moment, and then literally at the 30-minute mark, boom, I snapped out of it. I was like, you know what, fuck this.
Yeah.
Right. So at the time, my wife, I said, you know what, whoever wants to come visit, they can come visit. I said, I'm good. She was like, well, I said, yeah, I'm good. So the next day, the doctors come in, and they have this woe is me attitude, and I let them have it.
Yeah, I bet.
I let them have it. I was like, hey, don't ever come back in my room with that fucking attitude. I said, you got a job to do. You fucking do your job. I said, God will take care of the rest.
Mm-hmm.
I said, but I don't ever want you coming in feeling sorry for me about, what's going on.
Do your fucking job.
Yeah. And they were like, oh. And after that, it was all God. Because just the way things played out, they found out a way to reconstruct my left arm. And literally February, so it happened the end of May, February, I was back to full duty.
Damn. I'm
Right?
telling you, there's some things in this life that man just can't take credit for.
Man just can't take credit for. But during that period, Naval Special Warfare was like, we're going to medically retire him.
Oh, no.
Right? Naval Special Warfare was like, hey, let's pull his Chiefs package. This was 2 weeks before the Chiefs board was like E7. So meaning you to become an E7 in the Navy, you get selected.
Yeah.
But you have to take the test. Your evals has to show your performance, all of that. But there's a board that selects you to be an E7, to be a chief petty officer. And so it got word. So word got back to the board like, hey, this guy, severe injury. We're going to medically retire him, pull his package because now we can give it to somebody else.
Yeah, what for?
Right?
Huh?
So they pull my package. And then I get back to work around July. So I'm back to work in July, and they're looking at me. At this time, I'm an instructor at Buzz, third phase. I'm teaching demolitions. And they're looking at me like, why are you here? I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, well, you don't need to be. You can be home. I said, well, what else am I going to do?
Yeah, sit at my fucking house.
Right? Yeah. I was like, I'm doing my physical. I'm doing my PT. I said, I can still teach. I can still do. And they're like, oh, okay. So they had this mindset like I was just kind of going to fade away into the sunset.
No way.
And be medically retired. But as I'm going through rehab, I'm looking at the others that are going through rehab.
Oh, really?
I mean, I didn't deserve to be there.
They were worse off in
Way worse.
Yeah.
You know, and it wasn't a motorcycle accident. It was, you know, they got, you know, shot or blown up overseas, and now they're home.
Yeah,
you know,
some downrange
going through
shit.
there.
Huh?
You know, I'm like, serious shit, bro. So I'm in there and I'm looking at these male and female. I'm like, I'm not worthy to be here.
Yeah, you shouldn't be here.
You know, so now mentally I'm like, look, I need to get up out of here as fast as I can. So with physical therapy, I took it to the next level as much as I possibly could, because I felt like I did not deserve the time and attention where it could be elsewhere for others who suffer way more than me.
Kind of like the Navy felt with you. Pull the package, give it to somebody else.
Right.
You thought the same thing, huh?
Right. So
give that treatment to them.
So that whole process. So then I'm on the tail end of my 10th surgery where they had to reroute tendons so I get full function in my left hand.
Fucking technology. That's insane. Yeah.
I go, February, I'm full duty, and they looking at me like, oh shit.
It's like RoboCop.
Like we thought you were gonna. It's like we thought you were gonna, right? So now I'm at not today. So this is 2013, and I'm about to hit 20 years.
Cool.
And I'm an E6. So at the time, the protocol was if you're E6 at 20 years, you got to retire. So then they're like, hey, what are you gonna do? I said, well, I got to retire. And they're like, wait, you got to retire? I said, yes. I said, last year you guys pulled my package and I didn't make E7. Because at the time they thought hey, you got a solid package, you're going to be E7.
Yeah.
So I was blessed to make E7 like right before I was supposed to retire at 20 years.
And that allowed you to continue.
That allowed me to continue.
Yeah.
And so then I continued on, for more years. But that whole process, because you don't know what you don't know. You're like, yeah, if I ever experience, certain trauma or casualty, like I'll respond this way. Like you really don't know until you go through.
You might have an inkling of what you might.
Yes.
Nah.
So here it is. I'm in this moment where I'm severely injured and I have to go through 10 surgeries. I have to go through PT. I got to go through I have to go through fighting, to stay in the Naval Special Warfare and continue my career. And there were exceptional people who were there to support that.
Yeah.
In NSW. So it was a testament to them fighting for me. That completely it was like, okay, I know that I can get through severe physical trauma, and it completely altered the way I physically did business, because I lost 30 degrees of extension on my left arm. I lost supination, pronation. I mean, I can't rotate my wrist, right? So I had to learn how to fly all over again, because your altimeter's on your left hand, right? You turn your left hand to see so I had to now wear my altimeter on my right hand, right? And now I have a fixed wing, so the rest of my body has to control how I move. I have to completely relearn how to dive, right? Manipulate my weapons and shoot because of the limit. Like, all these things I had to relearn, and
the toolbox is deep at that point.
Yes.
Damn.
Right. But not only relearn, but to the proficiency to where your brothers are like, yeah, bro, you good to go.
Like, yo, Mac's back. He's back.
Right.
Man, you never really think about that when it comes down to having to, something happens in your life that changes whatever it may be, mental, physical, whatever. And then having the wherewithal to say, no, I'm not just going to fix myself. I'm going to fix myself to where I was or even better. That's a different mindset.
Yes. But also, too, is seeing those before me who were severely injured and bounced back. Because my thought process was, compared to that, this is nothing. I was like, to my mentality was, this is nothing. I don't deserve to be in this moment of transition complaining about anything, because I've seen.
I still got 10 fingers.
Yeah.
Right.
I still got both my legs.
Damn.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I still got my eyes. I still got my hearing.
Perspective. Damn. I'm talking about putting in perspective.
Right. So, for me to say, hey, woe was me, or I'm not going to do this or do that. Now, the funny thing is, in August of that year, I was back on my bike.
That's such an insane turnaround, bro. From you're gonna
the end of May to
arm.
August, I was back. Now, mind you, I didn't have full function in my left hand. So when I got on my bike, I would literally have to wrap my left hand around.
Yeah.
And just hold it there. Like, I could press, but I couldn't extend. And people were like, "What the hell is wrong with you?"
Yeah, and if you don't know about motorcycles, that's your clutch hand.
But they were like, "Why are you back on the bike?" And I said, "Well, one, it's not my fault.
Yeah.
If it was, I wouldn't ride it again."
Yeah.
I said, two, at the time, my son was 4.
Yeah.
And I said, if I don't get back on the bike, he's watching me go through all of this. If I don't get back on the bike, what lesson does it teach him?
Yeah.
Like, when you come across something very difficult and it fucks you up, you quit. You don't go back, right? So I was like, I don't want to teach him that. I want to teach him, resiliency. I want to teach him, like, when you fall, you need to get back up and you need to address it
instantaneously.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that was another huge motivation. And then, two, for me personally, I was like, I need to get back on this bike as fast as I can.
For here.
Because mentally, I need to. Because if I don't, then the longer I wait, I won't get back on it.
That uncertainty, dude, it can sit in. If you let it sit and fester and all that stuff, that uncertainty becomes a fear.
Yes. So those were the 3 major factors of why I needed to get back on the bike.
Yeah, absolutely
right?
agree.
And I still ride. I'm more cautious of who I ride with, right?
Yeah.
Or like when I ride. I did change up from a sport bike to a touring to a sport cruiser.
That must be the age change, huh?
No, it's just that
I
know. Being on a sport bike, bro.
It's not good for you.
It's set up for speed.
It's what it's for.
You're an aggressive lean.
Yeah.
It's set up for you to get it.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm like, I need to take away a few factors of me riding. Yeah. So let me get in a more calm, comfortable position to where I don't. Right. So it's me knowing myself,
which is, a huge asset.
Right. And don't get me wrong. I miss it.
Yeah.
I miss being in that lean, and I miss just, getting after it. However, I understand the reality of, God gave me one pass.
May not give you 2.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
I've been begging my wife for a bike for years, and me knowing myself, I'm a clumsy dude, so it's probably not the best idea for me. Man, I tell you what, brother, we've covered some insanely cool topics here, and I think having you in the studio today has just been such a blessing, and even more than just you being here today, your friendship and your brotherhood. I mean, it means so much to me, dude. So I'm gonna hit you with a couple of things that I like to call fire for effect, and anybody that's been in the military knows exactly what that means. So I'm gonna hit you with a couple of questions, and I just want you to give me real quick ones. What's your most underrated skill you think a warrior must have?
Oh, underrated.
Yeah.
Humility.
Okay. I love it. We've dove into that quite a bit, so that's pretty rad.
By far.
What is your go-to workout music, artist style? Like when you're just like the crazy video you saw me yesterday, you're fucking running in the rain. It's like a torrential downpour. When you're getting after it, what's your favorite music?
Oh, come on, man. Hip hop, R&B for sure. Okay.
Some R. Kelly?
Nah, I'm not trying to make babies, man. I'm trying to work. Upbeat. Yeah. Hip hop, gotcha. R&B. Like that's my go-to, for sure. That's my roots, man. Come on.
Okay, I like it. Yeah. So, is there anything that you've passed on in your life? You've done a lot. You've accomplished a lot. You still have a lot to do. I can tell from the way you carry yourself and the things you're doing. Is there something that you've passed up on that you said, man, maybe I shouldn't have passed on that? Like becoming a Marine, maybe?
Definitely not that, man. Absolutely. I believe I'm in this moment because God wants me to be in this moment. So
I feel like you're right where you should be.
I feel like I'm right where I need to be. Now, there are days where I'm not happy about it.
Of course.
But, I mean, if he's saying, I just need you to be still in this moment right now. And let me work some things out, but I need you to have faith and do your work.
Yeah. But
as far as regretting, certain decisions or certain things that I've turned down, I think it's all God saying, like, this is where you need to be.
Yeah.
So no, I do not, at all.
Good.
Yeah. I don't look back and be like, man, I wish I would have, stayed the NBA route.
No, I think you're right.
I'd have been a completely different dude.
Your kid, like the whole legend that you've built,
completely different guy, man.
I'm a firm believer that what we're doing is walking the path that God has set for us and the opportunities that he provides to us. That's where our will gets to come in.
Yeah.
And sometimes what we want is not the right will, right? So,
if you knew me 30 years ago, we probably wouldn't be friends.
Same with me. I could say the same about me, bro.
I mean, so my friends who I went to college with, like my family who, for 25 plus years, they didn't have experience with me. Like, I was, I was in the military. So they look at me now like, who are you? Like you.
Isn't it supposed to be that way, though?
You're a completely different dude. Yeah. Like, I don't, and then too, like if you look at my father, like him and I, we have very similar physical features. Our mannerisms, the way we talk, but our thought process, our heart,
physically, you guys,
like our soul is different.
Yeah.
And it's like, damn. They look at me like I don't know you, like who are, and it's okay, but it's interesting to watch them go through that, like to go through that process, like, is this really who you are, kind of deal. And it's like, I'm, it's almost like they're waiting for the hammer to drop.
They're skeptical,
based off of my father and his ways.
Who I was then is not who I am now.
Based off of like my mentality back then when I was in my teens and 20s, it's completely different. Like God has put me in a place of like peace, forgiveness.
Love it.
And the deal with the city of McLendon Chisholm and what's going on and how people are in social media.
People are people.
Right? People are people.
Simple.
And it's like, okay. oh, you know, I forgive you.
I tell you what, man.
You know, it's like, but you stay focused, and you're like, okay, and it has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with the individual and where and you have to meet people where they're at.
Yes.
You know, with love and kindness. But there's also, you got to meet them with, all right, that's enough.
Oh, without question, bro. Without question. There's a line.
Yes.
Where it's like, shit's over. This ain't happening anymore.
Yeah, you're like, okay, I get it, but we're not going past this line.
Nope. And go ahead and pass it if you want.
Yeah. Right. and they're like, wait a minute, what? Like, it's like, I've look, God's still working on me. I've given you enough. I've given you enough birth and given you enough love.
Yeah.
You know, for you to understand, like, I have your best interest in mind,
man. But
at the same time, like, where you decide to like cross a certain threshold, I'm like, all right, we need to hold.
Yeah, and not everybody's line's the same. You know, when I was going through my journey of rehab and recovery and sobriety, I was told, you know what? God's still working on you, right? Like you said, just focus on keeping your side of the street clean. And man, I've lived my life by that. Yep. I can't, nor do I ever want to deal with whoever side of the street that is, because until I help myself and I fix me, I can't help anybody anyways. You know what I mean? Yep. So if you're out there and you're listening, man, if you're in a situation, just keep your side of the street clean, and things work out for people like that.
Absolutely.
Last one for you: quote or a mantra that you live by. It could be whatever you think.
Man, I am grateful.
Can't get better than that.
Every morning I wake up and I journal, and first thing is gratitude. I'm so grateful to be here.
When you understand the power of that word, it's a game changer for your life.
Yeah.
Brother, I am so thankful for you being here today, man. I have the utmost respect and love for you, man. And if ever I can do anything for you, I mean, I'm here. I got your six, so thank you so much, man. I appreciate you.
My pleasure. This is a blessing. I'm happy to be a part of the battle between. Yeah. I think this is a great platform.
It's gonna do some cool shit, man.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you guys for sticking around. The Battle Between podcast with my good friend Floyd McClendon. Remember, you're never out of the fight.